Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sip and Talk. Okay, so something's been bugging me and I got to get it off my chest. Have you noticed like how many black and white couples are in movies and shows now?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's everywhere. You turn on a rom-com or even like an action movie, boom, there it is.
Yeah, that. It's got me thinking, is this like a real thing in America? Or is Hollywood doing some Hollywood stuff?
That's the big question, right? It's more than just entertainment. It gets into like representation, social change, even like how Hollywood wants us to see the world, you know?
Right, for sure. But before we go all deep think on it, let's look at the numbers. How many interracial couples, especially black and white ones, actually exist in the U.S.?
All right, let's get statistical. So the Pew Research Center and the U.S. Census Bureau, they've got the data. Turns out about 17% to 20% of marriages in America are interracial.
Wow, so like 1 in 5 couples? That's more than I thought.
It is, but, and here's where it gets interesting, when you zoom in on black and white couples specifically...
Yeah, the ones we see all the time on screen.
It's actually less, only around 11% to 12%.
No way, seriously.
Seriously, you're more likely to see a white Latinx or white Asian couple just walking down the street, statistically speaking.
Hold up, so Hollywood is showing us way more black and white couples that actually exist?
Yeah.
That's weird. Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, there are a few theories. Think global market, right? Hollywood wants everyone around the world to watch their movies.
Makes sense. Bigger audience, more money.
Right. And maybe, just maybe, black and white couples seem more relatable or marketable to a global audience than other pairings. Who knows?
Could be. But is it just about money?
Maybe not entirely. Hollywood also wants to look, you know, woke.
Okay.
All about social justice and breaking down barriers. Showing interracial relationships, especially in a prominent way, feeds into that.
So they're saying, look at us, we're so progressive.
Exactly. It's a good look.
Clever, but kind of sneaky too, right?
It is what it is. Some folks see it as genuine progress. Others think it's all for show.
Okay, but before we get too cynical, give me some examples. What movies are we even talking about here?
All right. Think big blockbusters. Spider-Man, No Way Home, huge hit, had a black and white lead couple.
True.
Even in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, animated, but still, Chris Pratt and Anya Taylor-Joy, boom, interracial couple again.
Interesting. Okay, but what about movies with manly black casts? Are we still seeing that dynamic?
Good question. Even in Black Panther, which was amazing for black representation, some of the supporting characters were in black and white relationships.
Oh, you're right. So it's not just a matter of which race is the lead. It's happening across the board.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? That's not just reflecting reality. There's something else going on.
Definitely something to think about. All right, so we've got the numbers showing Hollywood's amped up the black and white couple thing. We've got possible reasons why, but let's be real. Not everyone's thrilled about this, right?
Oh, absolutely not. There's pushback, controversy, the whole 9 yards.
Spill the tea. What are people saying?
Well, some folks are saying forcing specific interracial pairings can feel fake. Like, is this relationship even part of the story? Or is it just checking a box?
Yeah, nobody wants to feel like they're being used for some diversity point.
Right, and this gets even trickier when you're dealing with, like, adaptations. Disney remaking a fairy tale, for example.
Ooh, yeah, that's a touchy one. Should characters' race or ethnicity stay the same as the original story? Or should they change to be more diverse?
Exactly. Strong opinions on both sides. Some say changing a character's race disrespects the story's culture. Others say it makes it relevant for today.
It's like, how do you honor the past while also being inclusive in the present?
A real balancing act. And this tension, it's not just about race, it's happening with LGBTQ plus representation, too.
Oh, for sure. We're seeing more LGBTQ plus characters now, not just like the token best friend, but actual leads, couples, and even non-binary and transgender characters.
Absolutely. Think Frozen 2, all the speculation about Elsa, or Eternals with an openly gay superhero.
And let's not forget Lightyear and the whole controversy around that lesbian couple.
Yeah, that was a big one. And this trend is only going to continue. We'll see more LGBTQ plus stories, more nuanced representation, and definitely more pushback, too.
Because change makes people uncomfortable.
It does. Some celebrate it as progress. Others are worried it's pushing an agenda or that it could be harmful to kids.
It's wild how these conversations about representation become these flashpoints, you know? It's about way more than just entertainment.
Totally. And speaking of flashpoints, we got to talk about Trump. His stance on these issues, especially transgender people in sports, has been, well, very Trump.
Yeah, he doesn't hold back. So why is he so against transgender athletes, specifically.
It's rooted in his conservative views on gender, traditional roles, all that. He said it's unfair for transgender women to compete against cisgender women.
Right, like it disrupts the playing field.
Exactly. And he's not alone in that. Some people are genuinely worried about biological differences and fairness in competition.
Like the Leah Thomas situation, the transgender swimmer, that blew up.
And then you've got the whole issue of minors transitioning genders. That's another hot button for Trump and his supporters.
Right, lots of concerns there. Some people are really anxious about the idea of kids making those decisions.
It feeds into that whole anti-woke sentiment, like LGBTQ plus advocacy is going too far.
So it's not just about sports. It's about how we view gender, family, what's considered normal.
Exactly. Trump's stance on transgender issues, it's like a lightning rod that shows this huge cultural divide in America.
And that divide is only getting wider, it seems like.
It is. It's a tough conversation to have, but an important one.
For sure. And to be honest, it all ties back to what we were talking about earlier about Hollywood and this black and white couple thing. Is it genuine or is it
hypocritical political correctness?
Okay, yeah, that's the phrase. Hypocritical political correctness. What does that even mean, though?
It's like some people try to be so politically correct or woke, but it's all about appearances, not real change. Think companies slapping a rainbow on their logo during Pride Month, but not actually supporting LGBTQ plus employees.
So it's like checking boxes instead of actually doing the work.
Bingo. And this isn't just Hollywood, it's everywhere. Companies, politicians, you name it.
Okay, so is Hollywood guilty of this with black and white couples? Are they really promoting interracial relationships, or are they just trying to look good?
Tough question. We can't know people's true motives, but it's worth asking.
It is. So what does that mean for the future of representation in movies? Are we stuck with this fake wokeness forever?
Hard to say. The good news is people are demanding more diverse and inclusive stories. Audiences want to see themselves on screen, and they're calling out studios when things feel off.
And social media is a big part of that, right? People can speak up now like never before.
Exactly. So there's pressure on Hollywood to get it right. But on the other side, there's also a backlash against forced diversity or political correctness gone too far.
Like when people freak out if a character is a different race in the original story, or if there's a same-sex couple in a movie.
Exactly. It's this constant push and pull between wanting more representation and feeling like it's being done the wrong way.
So how do we fix this? How do we get past the fake wokeness and get to the real stuff?
It starts with tough conversations like this one. We got to be able to acknowledge different sides, different perspectives without yelling at each other.
Totally. And maybe if we can figure that out, Hollywood will reflect that nuance too.
Here's hoping. But for now, we got to be smart viewers, you know? Pay attention to who's on screen, how they're portrayed, whose stories are told, and whose are missing.
And speaking of stories, if you want something a little different, something with adventure, travel, and good whiskey, check out Mickytolife on YouTube. But for now, let's keep our deep dive into Hollywood going. There's still so much to talk about.
Definitely. This conversation's far from over.
It's funny, right? We're talking about all this representation, but then there's this pushback too. Like sometimes it feels like it's almost too much, you know?
You mean like it's not genuine? Like they're trying too hard?
Yeah, exactly. Some people call it like hypocritical political correctness.
Whoa, big words. Break that down for me. What's that all about?
Okay, so it's this idea that some people or companies, they try to be super politically correct and woke, but it's more about looking good than actually changing anything.
Like putting a rainbow sticker on something, but not actually supporting LGBTQ plus people.
Exactly. Like, look at us, we're so progressive, but it's all surface level.
So are they saying Hollywood's doing that with these black and white couples? Like, is it just for show?
It's possible, right? I mean, it's hard to say what's in people's hearts, but you got to wonder sometimes.
I guess so. It's like, are they really trying to promote interracial relationships, or are they just trying to look it for the cameras and stuff? That's the debate, isn't it? And this is where that whole virtue signaling thing comes in.
Virtue signaling, right. It's one of those words, I hear it all the time, but I'm not always sure what it means.
Think of it like someone wants to show everyone how good and moral they are, especially on social media, but they don't really care that much. They just want praise.
Ah, okay. So it's like, look at me, I'm on the right side of history, but not really doing anything to actually make a difference.
Exactly. So some people say that's what Hollywood's doing with these interracial couples, specifically black and white couples. They're signaling that they're inclusive and progressive, but maybe it's not that genuine.
That's deep. It makes you think, right? Like, is it enough to just put a black and white couple on screen, or should Hollywood be doing more to actually fight racism and stuff?
It's a big question. It's like representation is important, but it can't just be surface level. It has to be about real change, you know?
I feel you. So where do we go from here? If Hollywood's stuck in this hypocritical political correctness thing, what happens to real representation?
It's tough.
It feels like social media is a big part of that, right? People can speak their minds now more than ever.
Totally. So Hollywood's feeling the pressure to get it right. It's this weird balance. People want representation, but they don't want it to feel forced or fake.
So how do we figure this out? How do we get real representation without all the drama?
Honestly, I think it starts with talking to each other, having these hard conversations like we are right now.
Yeah, like actually listening to each other's perspectives without judging or getting mad.
Right. And maybe, just maybe, if we can do that, Hollywood will start to get it too.
Fingers crossed. But in the meantime, I think we got to be smart about what we watch, you know? Pay attention to who's being represented, how they're being portrayed, all that.
Absolutely. Be a critical viewer, think for yourself, and don't be afraid to call out BS when you see it.
Speaking of calling out BS, have you checked out that YouTube channel, Mickytolife? It's all about travel, adventure, and whiskey. No BS there, just good times.
Oh, yeah, I've heard good things. I need to check that out.
It's the real deal. Real people, real experiences, real whiskey. You got to watch it. But for now, let's get back to our Hollywood deep dive. We still have a lot to cover.
Agreed. Let's keep going.
You know, it's crazy, right? We talk about these movies, representation, all that, but it makes you think about storytelling itself. Like, movies have this power, you know? They can shape how we see the world.
It's true. We grew up on these stories, they get in our heads. And if Hollywood keeps showing us this kind of messed up version of reality, like with race and relationships, you got to wonder, what's the impact?
Right. If we're only seeing these very specific types of interracial couples or LGBTQ plus characters always fitting a certain mold, does it limit how we understand each other? Like real people, real experiences.
It's the big question, isn't it? If we keep getting fed these like super idealized or even exaggerated versions of life, it sets up these crazy expectations. Or even worse, it reinforces stereotypes, the stuff we might not even realize is affecting us.
It's like they have a responsibility to get it right,
Yeah.
you know, because what they put out there, it matters.
Hollywood can be a force for good, for change, but it can also just keep things the same, you know, the status quo. It's powerful stuff.
So what do? Boycott Hollywood until they fix it?
Nah, I don't think it's about silencing anyone. It's about being smarter viewers. Don't just take it all in, ask questions, challenge what you see, demand better.
Be a conscious viewer, right? And speak up if something feels wrong.
Exactly. And hey, if you're looking for a different kind of story, something real with adventure, connection, and some damn good whiskey, might I suggest Mickytolife on YouTube.
You can plug Mickytolife again. I already told you I'm a subscriber. Love that channel.
I know, but some of our listeners might not know about it. It's a hidden gem. Travel the world, learn about different cultures, and whiskey. All from your couch.
Okay, point taken. Mickytolife. Check it out, folks. But for now, let's wrap up this deep dive. We went deep, for sure.
We did. Started with those interracial relationship stats, Hollywood versus reality. Then we got into why Hollywood might be doing what they're doing, market stuff, social image, all that. And then hypocritical political correctness, virtue signaling, whoa.
Can't forget Trump. His views on this stuff are still making waves.
It's crazy how much impact one person can have even after they're out of office. It shows you the power of politics, the media, everything.
For sure. But at the end of the day, it's up to us, right? How we engage with all this, what kind of world we want to build.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We're not just watching the stuff happen, we have choices.
So last question for everyone listening out there. If Hollywood's not showing us the real deal, what does that mean for how we see ourselves, each other? Do we just go along with it, or do we demand something better, something more honest, more complex, more like the world we actually live in? Think about it.
Love that. We all have a part to play in the stories we tell, the world we make. Our choices matter.
And on that note, we're out of here. This has been The Deep Dive. Stay curious, keep digging, and don't be afraid to challenge those narratives.